one example I can give you of the idea of trying to meet my goals that I set for myself of doing something that's new and different and fun for me to create and fun for people to find was the Finding Charlie series. Has anybody in here done that? Our local guys have. I'm a paramedic in Greenville, paramedic supervisor and a fireman at Greer. I get to do a lot of really cool things. I get to see some really bad stuff too, but I get to see some really awesome stuff. Geocaching is a form of stress relief for me. And occasionally the two link and cross. And one day, when I had a particularly bad day and I was running some calls, I got this idea for a story about a homeless guy. And I thought, that might be interesting to do that as a geocache. I need to think on this. So I thought on it for about a week. And I wanted to do something entirely different. And I had never seen a geocache series that was presented in the form of a story, where each of the ones were linked together. So it starts out with me meeting Charlie, who's just fallen down or been beat up in a parking lot, and was really nasty and smelly, and nobody wanted to get near him, but I was there to take care of him. We made friends, and then the intrigue began. We go off one day for our normal little meeting where he tells me stories and I give him coffee, and we've got to try and find Charlie. So there's 4 or 5 of these in a series. Where does it get creative? Well, I think including it in a story is one thing, because Charlie arranges to have me be given a book with a code in it. So it's like a puzzle patch. You've got to solve the code after you've read this little story. Well, the code takes you somewhere. To the first cache. You go there, it's got a clue for the next thing. There's a story attached to that too. In one of them, I provided a very minimal amount of information on where the actual next stage was. I just provided a general description of the area. And I asked friends all over the country to pretend that Charlie had sent them messages, because Charlie was kind of trying to fly under the radar because of some of the stuff he's been involved in. I won't spoil it totally for you. But a lot of the clues for where the cache is in the first few logs that are submitted as notes by friends of mine that were like, hey, you know, this crazy thing happened. And other folks were willing to play along with it. So all the information you need, if you're really good, is at the beginning of the listing. But if you need more help, you start reading through the logs like a lot of us do, you'll see these strange and unusual occurrences. So that's the case of it. The whole thing started with an idea. And then I had to find places to put these. Location inspired. Bunker Hill fishing. Anybody? Okay. Bunker Hill fishing is at a bunker at an old Air Force base just south of Greenville. Again, a place I saw because of my travels at work and everything else. And I thought, how could a bunker, man? I gotta love that. I gotta get in. I gotta get in. It's welded shut. But I still want to get in. I've thought about getting solved, and actually, but it's not worth it. But I got a cache in there. I saw it, and I immediately knew I wanted to do a cache there, and it took me about 3 weeks to figure out how, and I made it a multi. So the multi involves the different parts of the bunker, the setting around the bunker, some of the different infrastructure, and it's all stuff that's kind of like hidden in plain sight, which I just love. I just love stuff that's camouflaged. You're like, I don't see the darn thing. I can't imagine. Wait a minute. And, you know, there it is, and that's an integral part of what you do. The container. There's a long story that it takes two to tango. I scouted out a spot, a big vacant lot where they had torn down a bunch of homes and it remained vacant for a long time. Apparently nothing was ever going to happen there, but there was a light pole lying on its side with one of those conduits that ran up it that cables used to run in. I saw that and I went to geocaching.com. There were no caches around it. I want to use that. So I made an air-powered cache, which you have to use a bicycle pump for, that operates the mechanism that makes something happen. And the name gives you a hint as to what it is, because I made it long enough that after you pump it and something happens, you either have to be really quick to take advantage of it, or you need 2 people. Or you're smart and cheap or whatever. So anyway, that's a case of I saw the spot, I knew what I wanted, I knew what it had to go in, and I just had to figure out how to make it. And it was, honestly, it's a screen door closer. But I adapted it with fittings and things and enough leakage so that if you pump it up with a hand pump, and that disclaimers all over the place, do not use compressed air, whatever, then it gradually extends, because they're meant to push the doors and close, but they'll also extend to a certain degree. That's what I used inside. But figuring it out, how to make it all work, was the fun, and then reading the logs afterwards that come in. That's the payback. So I don't want
to carry this now.
Yep, Larry's got it. With bike pump. So
get another geocaching tool.
as far as this goes, a lot of you know the stuff already, and I don't want to talk over anybody else's topic, but if you're looking to spend the time to make a creative geocache, whether it's a creative puzzle, a creative container, or just a creative presentation, make sure you do all the other stuff too, because you don't want to have that awesome, wow, this is really cool, and have it last for 1 week before it gets stolen or vandalized, which Bunker Hill did, other stuff. So make sure that you got the right permissions. I say endorsement. Permission's good, but having the support of the people that are actually going to be there is important. You may approach a business owner and say, hey, can I put a cache on this picnic table in front of your business? That's great, but the employees may never know about it. So if you kind of talk them up a little bit or stop by every once in a while, it helps. Visibility and security. You may want high visibility because it helps with the security of the cache. Or you may want low visibility because it's the kind of thing that's going to freak people out if they see somebody standing in the middle of the woods with a bicycle pump or whatever you have going on, a pile of golf balls or whatever. Consider the lifespan. If you're spending all this time making a creative container or a creative setting for that, make it durable, make sure it lasts, or be ready for this thing's only going to make it for about 6 months before it has to be replaced. Editor, Anypay, Tom, other folks, you can, and Larry was talking about fumble fingering a coordinate. We've probably all done this. When I get my head down into a task and I chew on it, I fight, I get it done, and it's exactly what I think it is, and it's not, because the first time somebody else reads it, especially if it's writing, I may have totally missed the tone that I was after, or I may have, I'm not my best editor. I need somebody else to say, how's the tone on this? Does it make sense to you? If it makes sense to me, it came out of here. But somebody else, this is for somebody else. It's not my diary. So use an editor to check your math, to check your puzzle, to make sure it's doable. The perfectly evil puzzle cache that you just came up with might be impossible. It really might. You're the only one that knows how to do it. What good is that? So have an editor check everything. I don't mind doing that. I'm past the thrill of FTFs. It's fun, but I'd much rather be a participant on somebody else's really cool, here's a new cache, than to have them go out and fail like I have before, where they just totally put the wrong numbers somewhere. The folks in my area have been really nice to me when I've done these complicated puzzles, and they're like struggling for weeks trying to figure their way through, and I'll get an email like, this can't work. Oh, no! Because I know people have been knocking their brains out trying to find it. And make sure it's within the guidelines. Pretty much already talked about this. Have a replacement ready. If you put all your eggs in one basket and it's just something that you can't ever afford to replace, maybe you don't want to put it out. Larry showed me one about a year ago that had electronics in it that you had to interact with, the Arduino, is that how you say it? Circuit that listens for noises or lights or whatever. That's awesome, but the guy was really having a hard time figuring out where to put it because it's going to get stolen.